There's nothing in the world hornier than a 15-year-old boy. Well, now that I have your attention, I want to talk about the Boy Scouts of America and openly gay scout leaders. Now, in interest of full disclosure, yes, I was a Boy Scout. Yes, I am currently a scout leader. No, I'm not gay, openly or otherwise. But this is a topic that deserves some discussion because for the last 2 years, the Boy Scouts of America has been holding private consultations within their organization about whether or not they would follow the suit of other groups like the Girl Scouts of America or Campfire Girls or Big Brothers and Big Sisters and adopt what's called a more inclusive membership model, meaning they would allow people openly gay both as scouts and as scout leaders. After 2 years of deliberation, the Boy Scouts said, no, we can't do it. And I believe that was a good thing. Now, my friends at places like the Huffington Post and the Los Angeles Times, they see this as, well, this is just perpetuating a language or a message to the kids that it's okay to be violent, to be angry, and to be discriminatory against homosexuals. But I want to point out a couple of historic facts and maybe put this into context. You see, the Boy Scouts of America have been around for 102 years. They just celebrated their century mark back in 2010, created by Lord Baden-Powell as a means of helping young men make the transition from boys into young men and eventually into productive adulthood. He wanted to see people who were raised with character. This is why you have the Scout Oath. Let me walk you through it briefly. It says, on my honor, I will do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Now, I want to break this down a little bit, and I want to point this out. The Scouts were not created as an organization to exclude everybody else. They weren't created as an organization to prove that they were better than anybody else. Listen to the Scout Oath. There's duty involved. How often does duty involve fun? I don't know about you, but I have duties I have to do around the house, and most of my duties really aren't the kind of thing I'd like to do. They involve chores, they involve sweat, they involve work, sometimes making tough decisions. Duty to God and country means that the Scouts are trained to have respect for authority. The highest authority of all, as well as secular and governmental authority, but they're trained to understand that they have a place in the world, but there is authority to which they must put themselves in a state of submission. And I'm not talking abject slavery, simply that in order for them to make a difference, they have to be willing to admit there's something bigger than themselves. By the way, that's a key of greatness in any aspect of life. Secondly, there's a duty to other people. That duty to other people is part of the do a good turn daily motto, which the Scouts follow. They're looking for an opportunity to help other people, not exclude, not to put labels on them or make them feel bad, but to actively make the world around them a better place. The third and probably most important duty that they face is duty to self. And here's where it gets tricky. And this is why those who say, well, they need to include open homosexuality either in the membership or in their leadership, they're missing the point. Part of the duty to self involves living a life of honesty. And that means being honest in your relationship with others, being clean in your words and in your deeds, and above all, showing respect for other people. Now, as I describe these qualities, can you honestly say that any of us would hate to have a neighbor like that? See, we're not talking about raising up religious zealots. We're talking about giving boys a very clear focus and direction to be the best person that they can be. There is definitely a structure in which belief in God plays a role. Girls are not included because it wasn't called the Girls or Boy Scouts of America. There are separate organizations that can address those needs for girls. Atheists who in the past have sought to get legal recourse, let the Boy Scouts join, let us join them. Nope. I mean, if you want to join, you're welcome to, but don't do it in such a way that you have to cause members of this organization to renounce their own values in order to be a part of it. And to that end, I would issue this challenge. Those who feel like the Boy Scouts are being unfair by excluding homosexual scouts or leaders, start your own scouting program. Simple. What's stopping you? All you have to do is get together the necessary people who have like interest. It sounds like there's plenty of them out there. And organize your own scouting program. But that's not what they appear to want. What they appear to want is for the Boy Scouts of America to renounce the values that it's held to for over a century that build young men into great men. And I don't think they should have to do it. It's not because they were created to exclude people. It's because they were created to create good individuals. And 15-year-old boys, or actually 12 to 18-year-old boys who participate in this program, that's not a time in a boy's life when a program that's building who they will be needs to be focusing on sexual politics or even introducing a sexual dynamic. I'm not kidding when I tell you. I remember very well being 15 years old. There is nothing hornier on earth than a 15-year-old boy. Let the Boy Scouts do what they do in building character. And if someone else wants to create a program that builds sexual identity or whatever it is that they think they need, let them build it and let it stand or fall on its own merits. Make sure to leave a comment on this episode and be sure to click the subscribe button to follow future episodes. I'm Bryan Hyde. I'm telling it like it is.